Okay. Number 33. On the fearfulness of greed. During a typhoon, the whole town was inundated with water. As everyone was fleeing to safety, one man remembered a precious possession left behind. Overcome by fear that it would be washed away or ruined, he rode home with all his might. When he came to his house, of which all but the roof was under water, as he was getting out of the boat, he accidentally fell into the flood and was drowned. If only he had waited a bit longer, his greed killed him. Okay, let's read it one more time. On the fearfulness of greed. During a typhoon, the whole town was inundated with water. As everyone was fleeing to safety, one man remembered a precious possession left behind. Overcome by fear that it would be washed away or ruined, he rode home with all his might. When he came to his house, of which all but the roof was under water, as he was getting out of the boat, he accidentally fell into the flood and was drowned. If only he had waited a bit longer. His greed killed him. Okay, very good. Yeah, I totally, it resonates with me how fearful our greed is. Yeah, you know, desire, Buddha teaches us we are all made of blind passions, such as desires. Now, if you trace your desires to the root, if you dig in deeper and deeper as you walk the spiritual journey, we realize that at the bottom of our desires lies this mind of greed, which means as long as I get what I want, that's all that matters. And I don't care about anything else, anyone else. That's why it's fearful. If you look at this greed on the superficial level, more like desires, everyday desires, oh, I have desire to eat breakfast after this meditation session. Doesn't feel like it's so fearful. Yeah. But if you go deeper, dig in deeper and deeper, which is how we can find our way to the paradise or the pure land or nirvana, like Carl Jung says, to reach the height of heavens, one must dig in deep into the abyss, into the bottom of hell. Here, it's mentioned by fear. You know, we are always driven by our fear that we might lose our possessions. And then we make all the decisions that we make in life. It's out of fear. So he couldn't entertain the idea that maybe time had come to be separated from his possession, this precious possession that he had left behind. He couldn't entertain that idea. So, on an impulse, like Yuichi often talks in the meetups, totally driven by that subconscious intensity of that greed, made him just rush to his house, and the whole house was under the water except for the roof, and he tried to get out of the boat, and then he accidentally fell into the flood and drowned and died. What can be more tragic than this for an individual? Yeah, because money or possessions, they can be replaced, but life, once it's gone, it will not come back. It's irreversible. So I think anyone can understand how foolish of an exchange occurred in this story to give life in order to retrieve some precious possession. It's very foolish and fearful and tragic. But the lesson we can learn that we can apply to our everyday life, how to make it practical for us in everyday life, is that yeah, for us too, we always come to a fork in the road. Like, we have dilemmas, we have to make a decision. Should I go right or should I go left? What should I do? And in those situations, basically, we rely on our own greed or desires to make our decisions. Yeah. And if we are not listening to Buddhism, to the Dharma, and work on our spiritual development, we are always going to be at the mercy of this greed. And then we make wrong choices and we suffer because of it. That's why greed becomes fearful. Not anyone else, but we have to suffer because of it. First and foremost, we suffer the direct consequences of our own desires and greed. Yeah, and it's not a very bleak picture because if we understand the nature of this greed, it transforms into generosity and giving. Yeah, they all start with the G. It can be transformed into generosity and giving. That's the antidote to greed. And actually, if we recognize the fearfulness of greed and engage in the antidote of it, which is generosity and giving, little by little, this darkness and fear transforms into our gratitude and joy, just like the lotus flower grows from the mud, but it's not stained by the mud. That's the bright side of it. But if we don't confront this blind passion, if we don't recognize it in ourselves, we basically waste our whole life thinking that we suffer because of other people. They make me suffer, we think. And we waste our whole precious life because we cannot find the happiness that holds us fast, never to abandon us, that makes us feel this is why I was born as a human. So we can turn this tragedy into triumphant moments every moment of our lives by facing this reality. So good job, everyone, for being here, practicing together. Today is Monday. We're going to have the Right View Lab, 8 p.m. Pacific time, and have a wonderful start of your week. Goodbye.